owner of the Kibler household and ruler of all things Hearthstone, it is Shiro Kibler.
I mean, he actually already won the tournament. We see he has the medallion here. He's just sporting that. He doesn't need a collar. He gets a medallion.
These guys have been battling it out, and
all those interesting things about the reason we see Edelweiss playing this deck. Obviously, the big changes to Druid that came just before the start of this tournament, literally the morning of the first day of this tournament, obviously meant that the Wild Growth Nourish-based decks are a lot weaker. Well, this is a Druid deck that doesn't worry about the nerfs to Wild Growth and Druid. It's been nerfed itself with the Spiteful Summoner going from 6 to 7 mana, but it is still a powerful deck as we have seen a couple of times already this tournament.
Yep, and it's still a very functional deck, even despite losing the Wild Growth, but it's just not terribly impressive based off its initial stats. So we'll see how it fares after the patch, because everything is still kind of being shaken up. I know people are a little bit up in arms with Hunter's win rate being the top end versus Druid being pretty much the exact polar opposite, but we're still fleshing things out, and maybe the Spiteful Summer Druid can show us that Druid still has a lot to work with some of their toolkit that isn't Wild Growth and Nourish.
Yeah, and the Corpse Taker package, as you mentioned, an interesting inclusion that we really haven't seen that often in Spiteful Druid, and specifically the Thrallmar Fireseer as the Wind Fury minion of choice, I think is a nod to the fact that the deck already has just so many expensive cards. You're playing Infestation itself, you're playing Spiteful Summoner, you're playing, like you mentioned, Mojo Master, Tending Tauren is even included in this deck. So you generally want to have just a cheaper option to potentially pair with your Fungal Mancers later in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I like that card a lot too. Tending Tauren, or we like to call it the Tendies, man, within the caster group. Sato specifically coined that term. It's just really powerful, because one thing about the Spiteful Summoner Druid that people underestimate is that it can build boards very quickly, especially when they play Ultimate Infestation late in the game. They can just go like 4 minions deep and then utilize all of those buffs like Fungal Mancer or even just Protected with Criplord to make it super scary.
And here, Pathra also playing a deck that has a lot of abilities to have explosive plays. The Even Warlock able to power out those early game Mountain Giants. And Edelweiss finds a 1-drop on 2. We did see her hold on to that Glacial Shard in her opening hand. This is a matchup where there are a lot of big minions that you'll often want to freeze, so definitely understand that choice there. Now Edelweiss, she has kind of a mismatch hand of relatively dopey minions, basically, which is a lot of what you tend to see out of Spiteful Druid. It's like this mishmash of various things that look like they belong in an arena deck, but when they come together with the appropriate tools, and you have the Spiteful Summoner draws itself, it can be very powerful.
Yeah, and Argent Squire isn't exactly commonly included. Some people, if they choose to go low drop, want to play things like Dire Maul to help control. But remember, if you're trying to specifically curtail a deck to be very good against control decks, Divine Shield tends to work a lot better than Flat Health. You're going to buff it through Keleseth, Tending Tauren, and Fungal Mancer.
It's also specifically quite powerful with Corpse Taker. Otherwise, Ziliax is your only Divine Shield minion in your deck. Right. So you specifically want to include the Argent Squires to have additional reasons. And frankly, this would not have Divine Shield if it weren't for the other Argent Squire in the deck, because she has drawn her Ziliax.
Yep. You're exactly right about that too. Very thoughtful deck building process by having that Corpse Taker package, which we don't often see in the traditional Spiteful Summoner Druid lists.
Pathra, though, she has the ability to play a Mountain Giant here. Does have the concern of, well, that's a Wind Fury Divine Shield minion right there. Edelweiss is far away, or a turn away from being able to actually Fungal Mancer this, so there's no buffs that'll come down. The only other real threats that she has to keep in mind to her immediate board state are things like just small taunts like Crypt Lord and whatnot. So not really too much that Edelweiss can do to really change this board state next turn.
Yeah, I think Mountain Giant here is much more powerful than Twilight Drake because the threat of Spellbreaker. There's only one copy in the deck, but if your opponent lands a Spellbreaker and then they develop the board and trade like the equivalent of an Argent Squire in, that's going to feel really bad for Patra's sake. So going for this Mountain Giant, I think, is a very good play. But that's exactly why Edelweiss held on to things like this Glacial Shard for that opportunity to be flexible in case you needed it to stall.
Finds Keleseth as well, a little bit late, but still a pretty powerful card in a deck that is essentially all minions. The only non-minion cards in the deck are Ultimate Infestation, so buffing up your other minions for the rest of the game is potentially potent. But I think the second copy of a Corpse Taker has to be appealing here as well. 3/4 Divine Shield, Wind Fury, with that Ziliax waiting in the wings to help punch through things. There's definitely some consideration given to, okay, well, what happens if I set up my board against like a Defile here? How do I get punished by the various removal effects that the Warlock has access to?
Well, War Druid Loti has the ability to go into a 4/2 rush minion, very similar to Druid of the Scythe, but gives a few more options too, like Poisonous Stealth, Spell Damage, and Taunt, but I don't think the Taunt or the Spell Damage would be particularly too useful in this spot if she does end up going for it. Because she might as well just play Crypt Lord if she's going to play War Druid Loti. Unless she wants to bait out the removal first, which even Warlock tends to have. It looks like she kind of agrees with this.
Yeah, Crypt Lord into Freeze. This is a board that is well divided against a potential Defile. There's only 1, 3, 7, no 2 available. Also means that because she froze the Giant, it doesn't get to attack, and it will get damaged if there were some sort of AoE that's going to be used to sweep off this board.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this play too. It's also sort of a checkpoint for Pathra to showcase any removal, because this is still a very scary board state with the Corpse Taker now, because you are coming up on the Fungalmancer turn, and it's not the end of the world. You're only tossing in, you know, Argent Squire, the Corpse Taker, which you anticipate to die anyways, and a Glacial Shard. And now she gets to start kind of building back up this Crypt Lord if she's able to capitalize on it.
She could Keleseth into War Druid Loti here.
Or my personal favorite, which is Keleseth.
Floop. She can't quite Keleseth.
She can't Keleseth Floop, actually. Doesn't have enough mana. I thought she was at 6 mana. Apologies. But it's always funny because you're like, huh, 3/4 Keleseth for 4.
Power takes many.
The Poisonous.
Yes. Now that AoE has already been shown by Pathra, it's a little bit better.
Yep. This does put Pathra down in range of the Hooked Reaver, which she has available to her in her hand. She doesn't have a way to generate a 1 health minion, I believe, on the board in order to defile away this Poisonous Loti here. So no way to stop that from getting some value.
Yeah, this turn actually has a lot of implications, because what you want to do is set up a powerful board, but you don't want to give away the initiative just because you failed to play around with the 1/2 poisons. So I like Pathra setting up multiple threats, because no matter what Edelweiss takes down, there's a likelihood that she's going to be able to still have a minion, assuming that Edelweiss doesn't have exactly that Spellbreaker.
It's interesting because of the Corpse Taker, Pathra should know that there is Ziliax in the hand, 100%. She also knows that Ziliax can't be buffed because it was in the hand when the Corpse Taker was played prior to the Keleseth. So she knows, okay, well, there's a 3/2 Ziliax coming down, which this is actually set up very well against. There's no way for her to, rather for Edelweiss to get through this and kill everything, or kill everything cleanly without also losing another minion. So this does let her freeze the one remaining minion and kill the Twilight Drake here. So again, just this damaged Mountain Giant survives, and again, if there's any AoE, it'll probably take quite a hit itself.
Yes, and now we come up on a very critical turn, because turn 7 is when Spiteful Summoner can come out. So how will Pathra prepare for it ahead of time without compromising too much of the board state to potentially just even die? Like, because she's at 11 life, you have to be very cautious to not just get blown out by something that you're not prepared for.
She can't play the Hooked Reaver, which does give her a 7/7, which would mean on board, there's no way to punch through this and play the Spiteful Summoner in the same turn.
Yeah. I think this is pretty much safe in most scenarios. Spellbreaker plus 3 mana doesn't give enough, I think, to have Druid end the game.
The Ziliax here is pretty interesting because it can magnetic as a 3/4 to the Ziliax if she wanted to, or come out separately. Looks like she's going to go separate.
Yes, I think it's because it's better against single target removal, say like the Spellstone. Or,
it also just allows you to get an additional attack. She could trade in the 3/2 and the other 3/2 rather than just having both attacking one thing. Although it ends up attacking the same thing otherwise. So
yeah, that's true.
Is this?
Oh, I get this. To set up for
Push damage to the face,
ultimate
right? Yeah,
infestation.
it lets her get damage into the face. What she could have had. This is a little bit interesting to me, because she could have just magnetic this, and then she would have had still one big body. But again, like if there's a single target removal like a Spellstone,
Yes, exactly.
this ends up working out better. So yeah, this is Edelweiss specifically playing around Spellstone, which ends up working out very well for her because that Spellstone is in the hand for Pathra.
Yeah, and if it's not Spellstone, it could be other things like a Bone Mare, right? So then the Bone Mare removes the minion, and then you don't have 2 minions for Fungal Mancer. Like these are the things that are going through the mind if that situation presents itself. And if you're often trying to determine, like, is it better to do A or B, you often try to just make a very quick pros and cons list in your head and try to see if you can justify more reasons to spread them out as opposed to stacking on one minion. Which is what Magnetics is supposed to do, by the way. That's so mechanic working as intended.
Yeah. It's as if you made decisions and they mattered.
Whoa, let's not
You
get
did.
too carried away.
I always just like having a big thing, a big monster.
It's true. I mean, well, yeah, it's Brian Kibler first. Big monsters, big things, and dragons. But no, you're absolutely right, though. Like, even Warlock doesn't play things like Siphon Soul. They have to either leverage a giant Spellstone or silence things usually.
But speaking of decisions coming up big here, I really like this play from Pathra, defending her 1 health. All right.
Oh, man.
Well,
I'm looking for, like, a Mulch Muncher to have immediate impact on this
Mulch
board.
Muncher would be outrageous here.
Oh, I guess we'll just have to settle for a Deathwing.
Just a 12-12. But I was going to say, I really like the use of this Protector to defend the 8-1 Giant, because right now, Edelweiss has no way to get through the 4-6 and then finish off the Giant with her 2-3 in play. So this ends up working out extremely well for Pathra.
Wow, there are a lot of options this turn available for Pathra in terms of how she wants to remove everything. Trying to think of the cleanest way that helps her still maintain a little bit of board presence here. Like, can she set up, like, say, a Defile of some sort? But I don't know if she can.
She has 10 damage she could just send into the Deathwing without worrying about losing her Taunt minion, and then could potentially... Is there a Defile plus Dread Infernal?
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Dread
so.
Infernal at first.
Yeah, this is a very interesting turn, because it's also very important because Pathra is trying to get to her Gul'dan turn as safely as possible, and is keenly aware that Edelweiss is working toward an Ultimate Infestation turn very soon as well. This can be Defile into Dreadlord at least, which doesn't clear, but does kill the Deathwing.
Yeah, and still a turn away from Ultimate Infestation, potentially, blowing the game wide open with how much card draw and resources you get. So I think this was definitely serviceable. Like, I mean, if Patrick had more time, she probably could figure out a more efficient clear, but I think this is fine. I mean, I can't spot anything better at the moment. And yes, Corpse Taker is slightly buffed and slightly annoying, but should be okay. Almost clear skies for Pathra here.
Well, I mean, this I don't know that that's true. This Corpse Taker is Divine Shield and Wind Fury. If she Gul'dans here, she gets back. Yeah, she gets back 1 taunt.
Yeah, but she has Spellstone, so Giant plus Spellstone here removes it.
Right. Well, I'm just saying it's not immediately just the worst thing to happen to her, but it does mean that she can't Gul'dan here, which is exactly what she's trying to do.
Yeah.
And now Edelweiss has the opportunity to Ultimate Infestation.
That's true.
Pathra would have much preferred there were no Corpse Taker there, because that Corpse Taker threatened and forced her to do something other than her otherwise optimal play, which is the Gul'dan.
That does make sense. I mean, speaking of cards that might force them to make unoptimal plays, like, there's too much power on the board here for Edelweiss to ignore. I would like the idea of at least thinking about going face, but the problem is Edelweiss plays sacrifices. We talk about her cool inclusions, but her exclusions involve things like not having Leroy Jenkins, which is something that a lot of Spiteful Druids wanted to have, so they could have extra firepower toward the end stages of the game.
And now, with the Giant on board to clear off this 5/5, the Gul'dan becomes much more reasonable as an option, because she does get back the Vulgar Homunculus that will protect her at least from the 1/2, and then next turn potentially she has Hooked Reaver to Shroom Brewer,
Yes.
Unfortunately for Edelweiss, she did just draw both her second Spiteful Summoner and her second Ultimate Infestation, so she has no spells left for that Spiteful Summoner.
Yeah, you're right.
So like one of her most powerful swing cards is now neutralized. Yeah, Pathra is going to go for the Gul'dan.
Yeah, that's
This
a pretty
is a big
good board.
Yeah, she actually had 2 Vulgar Homunculus, so a very, very strong position here. And Edelweiss, she does have that Corpse Taker package, and we were mentioning, it is the exclusion of some things. One of the things it's the exclusion of is Mind Control tech. Most Spiteful Summoner lists tend to play Mind Control tech, and they would have some way to swing this board back in their favor. That is not a threat to Pathra here. She has this enormous board, and Edelweiss needs to pick it apart piece by piece rather than be able to steal any of it.
Yeah, I think in this position, Edelweiss and her arena deck is going to do her best to fend off against Blood Reaver Gul'dan and his army of demons and giants.
Didn't they ban Death Knights from Arena? I just don't think this is fair.
And Mind Control tech, apparently.
It's true,
which
yeah.
Edelweiss got the memo.
Yeah. She's playing an Arena deck. No Mind Control tech allowed.
Oh, man. I feel bad laughing because this is like kind of the end of the road for one of these players. It's top 8, it's game 5, but at the same time is looking more grim with each passing moment. Spiteful Summoner Druid does have that window to try and crush the Even Warlock, but it looks like that is passing because the comeback mechanism from the Life Bite that's available for the new Death Knight that arrives just helps you stay out of range of so much and outvalue even the Ultimate Infestation plays from the Druid. And this is looking like game over in 2 turns, maybe even next turn if Edelweiss can't do anything.
Yeah, Druid decks are typically poor at dealing with large minions, especially dealing with 5 of them. And when you don't have spells like Naturalize, you can't even kill any of them. So yeah, Edelweiss is really just staring down the end right now. Ultimate Infestation can clear off this giant, but she only has 1 5/5 against an army of minions, even bigger than that, along with that Gul'dan hero power.
Let's count how much damage we have. We have 6, 10, 18, 25, 28, 31. Or, somewhere around there, it looks like. So it shouldn't be able to end the game this turn.
She can send in enough damage that there really isn't any way for Edelweiss to come back. We mentioned no Mind Control tech, no spells outside those Ultimate Infestations. Both those Ultimate Infestations have been cast. So this is Edelweiss just trying to defend herself with minions against all of these minions from Pathra, and there's just no way out at this point.
I'm looking at each of those individual cards. There's the Flappy Bird, there's the Tendies Man, there's better Wild Growth. Well, not really better, but this is going to look really bad here for Edelweiss. And she picks up Nerubian Unraveler. I don't even think she can survive another turn here, Kibler.
She can't. That's correct. There's like 30 damage on the opposing side. She's at 10, and yeah, it looks like Edelweiss is going to try to find a way out, but it is not there. I think we're moments away before Pathra will be advancing to the semifinals.
There is a Malfurion Pestilent. You could stave off significant damage, but again, how do you even win from that position, even if you do play a defensive turn here?
It's the sort of thing that at best you are delaying your demise here. You can play your Malfurion, you can armor up, you end up having 18 health and some 1/5 taunts. But even then, Pathra has, I believe, the damage to just punch through that, especially with the Hellfire and the Spellstone in her hand.
Yeah, these are 2 of the most accomplished players, at least from the resumes perspective, because Edelweiss has done very well this year in some of the Hearthstone Championship tour stops that were happening around the world that she traveled to. And then Pathra, of course, doing well on HGG, being able to win BlizzCon 2017's Invitational. And I'm sure she can keep up that streak. That's going to wrap up game number 5. Pathra is going to the semifinals.
I just need to punch these minions through the taunts, and it definitely does add up here. She can attack the Homunculus in, Hellfire Bite, and the rest of the minions should get the job done.
Yep, that's right. There's 18 on the board. Perfectly fine.
Yeah, Pathra just making sure she has all the math right. It's the sort of thing, Edelweiss took her time figuring out, can I survive? Now Pathra figuring out, well, can I kill you?
Yeah. I mean, so you just attack with Dread Infernal, attack with the Vulgar Homunculus, You can even Hellfire at that point and then just go everything face.
Yes.
You're perfectly fine in that spot.
Or this way.
Works too.
This works too. How many ways can you skin this Buffalo? Well, it's over. Pathra does get the final damage in to defeat Edelweiss and book her ticket to the semifinals.
That's right. So no real room for significant overkill, I think. You know,
Yeah.
always worth pausing, but definitely a hug between competitors. And we've had some